with all the talk of Jalen Waddle and his performance in OTAs and training camp, are we overlooking the fact that Tyreek Hill may have a huge bounce back season in 2025? We will discuss that. Plus, we will discuss Terron Armstead was doing his rounds today, hyping up Tua Tagovailoa. So, we got to cover that as well. And also, Lamm, he addressed the stuff circulating about him right now. And is Jalen Ramsey and Miami Dolphins, are they at the point of no return? We will discuss it all. So do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score!
Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown!
The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep. He's going over the touchdown again. Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. I appreciate all of you coming through today. As you do, please do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you are new, and we got a bit to talk about today. Again, do me that favor, smash the like button. We got some donations coming through early on. Shout out to Knight for expanding the Phinside fam by gifting one membership. Appreciate you, Knight. And Robert Thomason was the recipient of that gift. So appreciate you, Knight. And South Florida Don, remember, he's 2 months away from 4 years. Atta boy. Another month in the books. Let's go. Yep, we are a month away from them reporting to camp now. So we're getting closer and closer and closer. Another favor I want you guys to do in the chat, if you've got time on your hands, go over and go support one of our own who just started up his channel. He just dropped his first episode. All right, so go support FinSpin right there. Go show him some love on YouTube. Go check out his latest video. I know he put a lot of work into that, so go show him some love. I'm going to pin that to the top of the chat for now. So go show him some love. Go give him a subscribe. Go give his video a view, of course, after you're done with this one. All right. And then shout out to Kevin Williams. Great dude. Met him at training camp last year. Hopefully I can see him again this year. He just sent 5 Phinside The NFL memberships to Dylan, Zach, Mike Wright, Adam, and Sleazy Meta. So appreciate you, Kevin, for continuing to expand the Phinside fam. Shout out to everyone in the chat coming through. I hope you are having a great start to your week, even though we're on Tuesday, right? So now I do have a few things I want to talk about. If you guys haven't been following along, it's been kind of crazy, the stuff going on that Pro Football Talk has been releasing regarding the NFL and some collusion regarding veteran contractors, right? So an arbitrator found that the NFL encouraged teams to collude regarding guaranteed contracts. It was absolutely crazy. Pablo Torres, he had his podcast, and he had Florio up there with him too. And man, the stuff they were uncovering, like, first of all, remember JC Trader? I know a lot of people wanted him to be a Miami Dolphin before he signed with a new team, but I think he's retired now too. But when he was the president of the NFLPA, Man, there's documentations of him calling Russell Wilson a wuss, and basically, it was kind of crazy because JC Trader basically he was exchanging texts expressing frustration with Russell Wilson's non-fully guaranteed contract with the Broncos. He was calling him a wuss, and apparently, NFL owners and everything kind of flipped that around and used it against them to stay away from non-fully guaranteed contracts. And you say, the NFL won and the NFL lost kind of in the situation because basically, this is a quote from the findings. There's little question that the NFL Management Council, with the blessing of the commissioner, encouraged the 32 NFL clubs to reduce guarantees in veterans' contracts at the March 2022 annual owners' meetings. So basically, the NFL wanted owners and management to collude, and they endorsed it. And remember, this meeting in March 2022, it happened just after that fully guaranteed contract for Deshaun Watson. And remember, in 2020, the NFLPA tried for a second time to make all player contracts fully guaranteed as part of the CBA. So now, the league stopped it in 2021. They stopped it in 2020. And they're continuing to collude against it. It's kind of crazy. Now you understand why all these second-round draft picks are taking the stand for these fully guaranteed contracts. So, man, and then you even get into the Lamar Jackson stuff. Lamar Jackson, he texted that he wanted, it's in there. He texted DeCosta, he wanted a fully guaranteed contract. And then they had terrible communication. It was rough. And Lamar just basically said, yeah, the microphone on my phone wasn't working. That's why. And now there's indications that teams were colluding against Lamar Jackson because only a couple of teams expressed interest in Lamar Jackson, according to these reports. And no team reached out directly to Lamar Jackson during that whole time. Now there's legitimate evidence that the NFL was even colluding against Lamar Jackson because he wanted a fully guaranteed deal. And his problem was he let it known, and DeCosta basically let everyone else know. So this whole thing is wild, man. You guys should look into it if you have a chance. It's all over the place nuts. We knew, we know they were against fully guaranteed contracts. We had suspicion about the lengths they would go to, but now we got documentation. And man, I told you guys when Jaden Higgins got that fully guaranteed deal and Carson Schwessinger then followed up with that fully guaranteed deal, I told all y'all this matters. And then sure enough, Savaiina's holding out and no other second round pick has signed because they all want guaranteed deals. And I told y'all, this is where we're headed. They want guaranteed contracts. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to happen in the next CBA. It's going to. This is damning. This is so, they basically got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. So, right now, the CBA extends through the 2030 season. So that means it's going to expire in March 2031. You can guarantee this is going to be a big sticking point in those discussions. They are going to want guaranteed contracts. And now that they caught them with their hand in their cookie jar, colluding against it, good luck. It's coming. It's coming. So, I don't know. It's, and Roger Goodell, everyone already boos him and doesn't like him. What a terrible look. Daniel, reason, should we be worried about a Savaiinaia holdout? I don't think so. I think they'll get this done. I think the dominoes are going to start falling. I think NFL teams are going to have to give in to these second round picks, or what? Is the whole second round gonna sit out? You know? So I'm not worried about it right now, but they're gonna have to bend, and it's coming real soon. It's coming real soon. Right? So before we get into everything, a little housekeeping. Listen, shout out to the sponsor of today's video, and that being Clean the World. Clean the World works with over 8,300 hospitality partners to divert their soap bars and plastic amenities from landfills and recycle the collected soap into new bars. By doing so, Clean the World helps reduce worldwide pollution. It saves water and decreases the carbon footprint of thousands of hotels globally while helping improve the lives of men, women, children, and communities all around the world. Since it was established in 2009, Clean the World has distributed over 80 million bars of soaps. The organization has diverted 9 million pounds of plastic amenity bottles and over 29 million pounds of total waste from landfills, and helped Clean the World Foundation provide an estimated 17 billion individual hand washes to those in need across the globe. By recycling soap and other discarded hygiene products, Clean the World saves lives with items that would traditionally wind up in landfills. You can donate or even volunteer to help Clean the World's cause at cleantheworld.org. That's cleantheworld.org. Doing great things over there. Go show Clean the World some support. They do awesome stuff. My buddy Sean, who runs Clean the World, he is an absolutely fantastic human being that's all about making the world a better place. So go show them some love, all right? Go show Clean the World some love. If you can spare a donation, go ahead. It's going towards a great cause, and you will not regret it, all right? So that said, let's get into Kendall Lamm right here, because I ended up taking it out of the show when I realized that the article was fugazi. Basically what had happened was this article popped, a section of this article popped up. I believe Dougley shared it, and then, David Ferrones and, SI on all Dolphins or whatever. Everyone started running with it, right? So, and I covered it for about 5 minutes in the previous show. I've since taken that segment out because Kendall Lamm, he addressed that article. And I haven't talked about this today. I'll address it, and let's play. This is what Kendall Lamm said.
Quiet as can be. So I keep getting sent this article, apparently, that someone has said that I've slammed Dolphins culture and all that stuff. One, I don't remember talking to anyone or any reporter about anything that we really dealt with Miami, with the Dolphins. Two, I was never raised that way to sit there and comment on certain things as far as culture and everything else within the locker room. Three, I have no animosity or no ill will or bad intentions towards Miami or anybody down there whatsoever. I enjoyed my time in Miami, and it'll be near and dear to me forever. So when it comes to this article that I'm being sent, or this article that's been published, unless I just completely forgot doing this, I had to be misconstrued or taken out of context, because I have nothing but the utmost respect for everyone in Miami, and the people in Miami know that. And lastly, because things like this really don't bother me. Anyone can come to me and ask me the truth, and I'll tell you every single time. Ask the people what I'm like in that building. I'm quiet as can be, typically. I just keep to myself. I don't say much to anyone. I just lock in, do what needs to be done, try to do it the right way, and then clock out. Truthfully, you can ask any one of my teammates and they'll tell you that. So when it comes to culture and all that, bro, don't try to put me in the middle trying to spin things because of you guys feel something about Miami. I loved my time in Miami, truly. So please, I am not the one. The fact that stuff like that's being said to me blows my mind. Because one, I would never even speak about Miami like that. Never. So,
there you go. That's what he had to say.
Quiet as can be.
The whole situation. So, listen, obviously this a lot of people ran with this. So, I see people trying to attack people of who started this. Listen, let's not act like this is the first time that something like this has ever been happened in terms of the wool been pulled over, people's eyes regarding a quote and stuff. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. But we shouldn't even have to say that. But I just see people, attacking over it. It's crazy. But anyways, I got to say this. This does not absolve the fact, this does not absolve the Miami Dolphins from the fact that they did need a culture change, that they've clearly begun a culture change by they're getting Ramsey out of the way. They believe he's toxic. If Tyreek Hill was movable, they'd probably get him out of the way, given what he's done. You can clearly tell there is a attempted shift in the culture. There's clearly a turnover in the culture happening as we speak. Now, whether it pans out or works, that's a different story for a different day, and we got to kind of let everything play out until we get that conclusion. So, or until we can even come to that conclusion on that. So, listen, my whole thing is, it doesn't stray away from the fact of what was said. It doesn't even have to be true, but it also shows you that how much fans and even people in the media believe that the culture in Miami is a problem, that they ran with it. Right? That shows you how big the issue really is. If we knew everything was hunky-dory, if we knew it was all sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, we wouldn't even have given an article like that a second glance. It would have been, whatever, we're good. Now, I know I was one of the people when I discussed it, and I know there are people all over X that discussed it. Kudos to all of us that said, yo, what is this? Look at 2 years ago. Philadelphia was in shambles, right? They wanted Jalen Hurts gone. A.J. Brown was unhappy, right? They wanted Nick Sirianni fired, right? So a lot of us were like, yo, this kind of isn't adding up here in a sense in terms of, if you go back, well, now the segment's gone, but that I mentioned it in the segment, right? About hey, let's remember, Philadelphia isn't exactly the prime example of great culture. Yeah, they just won. And like I said, winning cures everything. Winning quiets everything down. For example, if we go out and win a playoff game this year, do you think there's going to be rumblings about Greer, McDaniel, or Tua? No. Now, if we win the playoff game and Tua's not the starting quarterback, there'll be rumblings, but you get where I'm going here. If Tua's healthy and we win a playoff game, are you going to have fans still picketing for McDaniel? Yeah, you'll have the small section who didn't like McDaniel from the moment he got here, or didn't like Tua from the moment he got here, or haven't liked Greer since, the Gase era. You're going to get all these people who are still going to be stuck in, but they'll continue to be the minority. Right? A lot of that noise will calm everything down. Again, winning cures everything. And I see Dana say, Dolphin fans thrive on negativity. And, I agree with that. I've talked about this. I'll give you a perfect example. Check this one out. You want a great... Here, okay. There are certain creators who only do good numbers when negative things are happening with the Dolphins, whether that be losing, whether that be Tua getting hurt, whatever the case may be is. But then when we're doing good, their numbers dip, right? All of a sudden they become super fans because they want to get their numbers back up, and this is across all platforms, not just one, all right? So you see it everywhere, right? But what happens? I've talked about this. Dolphin fans will when we lose, they'll gravitate towards that negativity, right? And then they'll call the people who are still being optimistic, they'll call them opium pushers or whatever the case may be is, right? Just remember, hey, listen, I know it was a long time ago, but after we beat the Denver Broncos and put 70 points up on them. Man, we had people out here apologizing for everything they had said about Tua and the drama they had caused in the community over Tua. We had people who hated on him and said he would never be an NFL quarterback, now declaring him a franchise quarterback. You know, like, because they knew that's what's going to draw in the eyes. That's what's going to draw in your clicks. You know, the reason why over here we're, you know, positive and negative and positive and negative is because we're objective. You know, like, that's it. I don't have agendas. Contrary to what people might believe, I do not have an agenda. My number one agenda is the Dolphins winning a Super Bowl. My number two agenda is the Dolphins finally winning a playoff game. All right? So, you know, but that's why we talk about everything, not just the quarterback on this channel. That's why I talk about everything, not just the quarterback on X. Right? Because I don't have an agenda. I'm here to cover the Miami Dolphins and the whole roster. So, and the coaching staff and the front office. But, yeah, you know, fans gravitate towards that negativity when we lose. Like, if fans don't want it, if fans want to sit here and say, you know, Dolphin fans are always looking for negative, okay, well, then tell all the Dolphin fans to stop gravitating towards the negative people. But at the same point, and again, I'm keeping it objective. Can you blame some of the people that gravitate towards the negative stuff? We haven't won a playoff game since 2000. Think about this. I didn't see a playoff win in my 20s. I didn't see a playoff win in my 30s. And now I just started into my 40s. Just hit 40. Literally in February. Think about this. The Dolphins have gone more than half of my life without a playoff win. Half of my life. And it's not like I'm 20 years old here. It's not like I'm a new guy who came up on Tannehill and stuff. Right? I remember Jay Fiedler. I remember dipping my head and be like, this guy throwing the most inopportune interceptions at the worst times. Yeah, I mean, that's it. You can tell these new fans, huh? If y'all think Tua crumbled in big moments, what do you think Jake Fiedler was? Jake Fiedler would throw the worst interceptions at the most inopportune times. And I've already said this before. I think there's guys who are creators in this community that are around my age that weren't even fans back then. You know, like, so, listen. If you don't want Dolphin fans to be negative, A, the Dolphins better start winning because that'll cure everything. And B, when they lose, don't all of a sudden all start jumping off a cliff and going into the dark abyss and feeding into all the negativity. Let seasons play out. Let weeks play out. Shout out to Rhino. He came through, the god of the mod squad. He donated 5 Phinside The NFL memberships to expand the Phinside fam. Remember, for 43 months, but I know it's been longer because I know he had a hiccup. But love you, brother. Keep up the hard work. Love you too, bro. Hope everything is good. When I come down for training camp, hopefully, we got a link, bro. Booked Bahamas today, so I will be gone August 2nd to 9th, but I will be back to live stream for the first preseason game. All right, I'll be getting in Saturday night at like 10:30. And then at 1:30 on, I think it's at 1:30 on Sunday, they'll be live. So I'll be back in time for the first preseason game. Don't worry, I got you, all right? But it's my 10-year anniversary. So me and the wife going back to Bahamas with the kids. So, and shout out to all, I know I got a ton of Bohemian, or was it Bayesian? Is it Bayesian? It's Bohemian or Bayesian, one of the two. So, I know I got a ton of y'all that pop up in the chat now and then. Man, ton of love. When you go, I'm telling you, if you're a Dolphin fan, go to the Bahamas. I'm telling you, if you're a Dolphin fan, just go to the Bahamas once. And wear your Dolphin gear around to the restaurants you go to and the hotels you go to and watch. That's all I'm going to say. All right? Just do it. Take my advice on this. You'll love it. You'll love it. All right? Everyone will love you. All right. So, but yeah, August 2nd to 9th, I'll be out of here. But I'm sure I'll have something while I'm while I'm down there. I'm sure I'll have something to drop for you guys. Oh, listen, Scotty Joe says get a Goombay smash at Miss Emily's Bluebee Bar. Is a Goombay smash made with that Goombay punch? Guys, again, if you go to Bahamas, you got to go try that Goombay punch. It's only in the Bahamas and it's by Coke. Oh my God, it's this yellow soda. I'm telling you, life-changing. And you can only get it there because they actually have a Coca-Cola factory in the Bahamas, so they bottle it right there. Man, you got to go. True Seeker Chris says he's in Nassau. Attaboy. Taking donations to fund my trips to the Bahamas. Yeah, man. That's hilarious. So I'll be down there. Yeah, there's the Goombay Smash, but there's also that Goombay Punch, right? It's the white can. It's phenomenal. Oh my God, I love that stuff. Just pump it into my veins when I get off the plane. I've been cutting out soda and stuff like that, but bro, stick the IV in. KJ says I'm Bahamian. See, I'm telling you, the people. Listen, I was just in Dominican last year. Some of the rudest people you'll ever see. Unless you're Dominican, like, me and a bunch of husbands were, sitting around talking in the pool while the wives were tanning and stuff. And one of the guys there, his wife was Dominican. Man, they were bringing out fruit that they weren't bringing out to anyone else on the resort. But they would still treat him, even though he had the Dominican wife, because he was American, they were still treating him like crap. It was crazy. But Bahamian people, they're fantastic. They're some of the nicest. Listen, when I was younger, I lived in Barbados for about 6 months of my life. And now I've gone to Bahamas a few times. Oh, man, I'm telling you. Barbados, Bahamas, been to St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis. Man, the Caribbean people, some of the best people in the world, cook some of the finest cuisine you'll ever have. St. Lucia's another place where I went to. For actually my honeymoon when we got married, we went to St. Lucia. It was unbelievable, the place we stayed at. Absolutely unbelievable. At Jade Mountain. Woo-wee. We had a whirlpool in our room. It was fantastic. Anyways, but the Bahamian people are some of the nicest people. I cannot wait to get down there, man. I cannot wait to get down there. So, I got phenomenal pod. I want to go to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico and Costa Rica and Hawaii, as well as Spain, Greece, and Italy. They're on the list. They're on the list. The wife wants to go to England, but she wants to do it in December. And I said, hey, babe, here's the problem. Playoff push, baby. I can't go to England in December right now. Not while I'm doing YouTube. It can't happen, babe. So, anyways. All right, let's get into anything. Enough about all that. And let's talk about Tyreek Hill. Are we in for a big 2025 from Tyreek Hill? All right. This was from ESPN, and Andrew Hawkins discussed it.
Tyreek Hill, 2 years ago, we were talking maybe 2,000 yards for him in a single season. Last year, I know Tua only played 11 games, but Hill didn't make it to 1,000. What is your confidence level that Hill can get back to that dominant form?
I'm still pretty confident in Tyreek. I think Tyreek has a very rare skill set. And actually, I know it was a funny video everybody saw last week where he ran the 100-meter dash, and he went 10.15. Now, for me, that showed significance for a lot of reasons. Tyreek Hill is getting up there in age. We all understand what happens to receivers as they get older and throughout their career. The thing that goes first is your top-line speed. So by watching that video, it tells me that has been a point of emphasis for Tyreek. That wasn't a time or even a form that you just jump on the track and run. When I watch that video, it tells me he's been on the track. He has been continuing to work and maintaining his long-range speed. So I think in this season, that's where I have hope that as long as Tua stays healthy, which starts with the offensive line, as well as Tua's ability to make sure he's making sound decisions, I think you'll see a bounce-back year from Tyreek Hill because I still think he has a bunch of juice.
You talk about those O-line issues. Those aren't new in Miami. Over the last 5 seasons, they rank 31st in pass block win rate of 32 teams.
Jeez. Got to throw a shot on the O-line there, too. But, I mean, you're talking about Tyreek coming off his worst statistical season since 2019. Now, remember, in 2019, he only played 12 games. Last year, he managed to tough it out, even with that wrist injury, for 17. But in 2019, he had 860 yards, and he had 7 touchdowns. Now, he was averaging 14.8 yards per reception in 2019, while last year he was only averaging 11.8 yards per reception. And that was down from previous years, right? 2023, he averaged about 15.1 yards per reception, and in 2022, about 14.4. His 11.8 was his lowest since 2021, when he had averaged about 11.2 yards per season, but he still had 159 targets and 111 receptions for 1,239 yards and 9 touchdowns that year. So, history tells you he's probably going to bounce back. I mean, just for an example, when he had that low 2019 season, he bounced back with his second best statistical season as a Kansas City Chief. He bounced back with a 1,276-yard season on 87 receptions. He averaged about 14.7 yards per reception, and he had 15 touchdowns that year. Now, we've seen all these lists coming out, and they've really been kind of disrespectful to Tyreek. I mean, I've seen lists that don't even have him in the top 10 receivers in the NFL right now, which is crazy. Because when you look at since 2022, since Mike McDaniel arrived in Miami, Tyreek Hill is leading the NFL in yards, even with that down year last year, which is crazy. Because if he would have had, listen to this, if he would have had another 1,700 yard season, I mean, he would be leading all receivers over the last 3 years by almost 900 yards. So if you look at the last 3 years, he has 4,468 yards. The closest to that is Justin Jefferson at 4,416. Now, Jamar Chase has 3,970. But Jamar Chase has 33 touchdowns as opposed to Tyreek Hill's 6, right? And that, again, comes from last year and year one. He didn't put up a ton. 2023 had 13, but he had 13 between 2022 and 2024. So, I know we talk a lot about Jalen Waddle and what he's done at OTAs and everything that he has done in terms of the first few days at mandatory minicamp. And we've discussed the hypothetical of him and, of course, Tua Tagovailoa sitting down and maybe plotting out that it's time to show the world that you can be a bona fide number one, right? We talked about this. We got to show that life after Tyreek won't be as bad as people are trying to make it out to be. And I've said this, even with a concerted effort between Jalen Waddle and Tua Tagovailoa, you got a feeling that Tyreek Hill is still going to demand targets and demand the ball, not in a sense of, hey, throw me the ball, Tua, but in the sense of getting open and just what's going to be fit for him in terms of plays we run. Is he going to be read one, right? He's probably going to be read one on a majority of the stuff we're going to do. Listen, do they want to move off of him? Yeah, sure, probably. But at the same time, they're stuck with him. And I imagine the smart thing to do, and I know it sounds terrible to say, listen, if you got a Mustang for one more year, or hold on, that's too low of a car. If you got a Porsche for one more year, a Porsche 911 Carrera for one more year, and it doesn't matter how much mileage you put on it, or what you do to it, you run that into the ground as much as you can, a la what we did with Ricky, right? Get the most out of it. If this is the swan song, maximize it. So all I'm saying is if Tua stays healthy, if Tyreek and Waddle stay healthy, I think John is going to get figured out. I think John is going to be here. And if that line stays healthy, if Austin Jackson can stay healthy, if James Daniels can look more like the guy prior to the Achilles injury than a guy coming off of it, if Brewer and Savaianaya and Paul can stay healthy and competent, I've talked about this. You could be back towards 2022, right? And remember, 2022 was the year when, after that season, we all were like, You can't even call Jalen Waddle a number 2 receiver. That's disrespectful, right? It was clearly 1A, 1B. And when you come off that year where Jalen had 75 receptions for 1,356 yards and 8 touchdowns, averaging 18.1 yards per reception, and Tyreek Hill, he had 1,710 yards and 7 touchdowns on 119 receptions. Man, you know, like that is what we need to get back to. We need to get back to 3,000 plus yards between the two of them. So that's what needs to happen, man. And if that happens, Tua's hitting 4,500 yards. You better be, at minimum, you better be ready. And that offensive line getting right and staying healthy, it's going to be key to Achane, Jalen Wright and company, exploiting defenses in the run game, opening up the pass game a little bit more, opening up windows, and we're cooking. And listen, we could be, I'm telling you right now, we could be sitting here in a world where Tyreek and Waddle are combining for 3,000 yards, and Achane alone is accounting for 700 or 800 as well. And you got 37 to 3,800 between the three of those players alone. We're not including what Jonnu does. We're not including what anyone else does. Nick Westbrook, like we're not, you know, Malik Washington in year 2. Like this could be big. Like, but guys got to stay healthy. Health is going to be the key for everything here. Nothing has changed. Now, Albert Breer had something very interesting to say. Do me the favor, smash that like button, guys. Get those likes up. Get them up right now. All right. I want to get over, we are at 97 likes. Let's get over 150 likes. There's over 300 of you in the room right now. Get those likes up right now. Okay. So, Albert Breer, he said something interesting because I know we're fresh off of Tyreek Hill saying he wants to try and convince Jalen Ramsey to come back, you know. And if you look at right here, now first things first, at the top, we were talking about second rounders earlier. Look at that. Second round contract kerfuffle is interesting. The 33rd and 34th picks, Carson Schwessinger and Jaden Higgins, got fully guaranteed contracts. A first for guys outside the first round. Higgins got his on May 8th. Schwessinger got his May 9th. And no other second round pick was signed since then. Obviously now the 35 pick safety Nick Manowari and his agent want a fully guaranteed deal. Since Cleveland gave Schwessinger one, I'd imagine the Browns pick at number 36, running back Quishon Judkins wants one too, and so on and so forth. So there you go. Okay. But look down here. Right down there at the bottom is what we're going to focus on right here. Okay. Go look at right down there, and you'll see what Albert Breer has to say about the Miami Dolphins. All right. Now, what I find interesting about that is, yes, I'd say the Miami Dolphins are past the point of no return on Jalen Ramsey, or it is at a point where, at the very least, it's going to be really difficult to put the toothpaste back in the tube. I'd bet a trade will happen on the doorstep of camp. So, for all of you, I know a lot of you voted that you would be down and you'd be in for a for a reunion if Tyreek Hill can convince them. Albert Breer does not sound too enthusiastic that is even a legitimate possibility. You know, past the point of no return, that's not great. That's not great at all. And this is what I've been trying, because I know people have hit me up, you know, like, hey, is there a chance Jalen and McDaniel work it out? Is there a chance that, you know, Jalen can stay and they'll just say, you know what, screw this, you know, you got to play. We've got him under contract. No, there isn't. It's over. It's done with. I've tried to tell you this just off McDaniel's comments alone. McDaniel has become very cold with Jalen Ramsey. I don't know what was said exactly. I don't know. I have an idea of, and I've told you guys what I've heard kind of went down and what this all stems from. But I don't know. This is over, people. And now it's just a matter of getting the best return possible, clearly. So, and I know how frustrated people are. They just want this over with. I know this has become one of those things almost like Tua's contract extension last year. People just wanted to figure it out so we could stop talking about it. And that's where a lot of us are at with Jalen Ramsey. My job is to bring you the latest news. So that's why I talk about him. But I'm in the same boat. Even I'm over it now. Figure it out and let's all move on with our lives. I'm there too. So trust me. And I'm sure I'm not the only content creator that feels that way. All right. So, continuing on here. Speaking of Tua, Terron Armstead continues his tour de la Tua, and he was on Good Morning Football. This is what he had to say. He called Tua special.
I think he's special. I do. I really do. I've been very loudly about my support of Tua as a teammate, as a fan. I think he can do really special things with the football in his hand. I may be the one that originated the Drew Brees comparison, and I'll stand on that. I will. He's very talented. His anticipation, his accuracy, his precision. There's very few guys that's walked this planet that can do what he can do with the football in his hand.
Why do you stand on that, though?
I've seen it. I've seen it in close proximity. I've seen his preparation. I've seen him. We've seen him collectively as football fans. We've seen him improve since his rookie year until now. You know, he led the league in passing yards a couple years ago. He leads the league in completion percentage every year. Those are winning. Those are winning stats. And I think even more this year, he takes another step in his leadership. He takes another step in the fourth quarter. 2-minute drills, those late game situations that really separate the good from the great. I think it's time.
Now, he then went on Rich Eisen and doubled down even further. Check this out.
Terron Armstead here on the Rich Eisen Show after a terrific 12-year career. Now in the books, Saints and Dolphins. So you saying Tua reminds you of Brees or as good as Brees raised a few eyebrows over the last couple of weeks.
Right.
What did you exactly say now that I have a Rich Eisen Show microphone in front of you, Terron?
I made that comparison. I see similarities. I'm not saying that they're the same player or same person. No two people are.
What's similar?
The anticipation, the accuracy, timing of throws, the ability to knock a wing off a fly. Repeatedly, those guys throw darts. They don't throw to areas. They are very precise. And that's an elite talent. It's elite trait. Very few people possess. He's one of them, and Drew Brees another.
So what's missing, do you think? Just his ability to be available? Is that essentially the piece that's missing?
I would say, Rich, time on task. Yeah, his having more experience, getting more reps, getting more snaps. I don't know exactly where Drew Brees was going into his 6th year.
Sure.
I know he had a shoulder that had to get reconstructed when he signed to New Orleans and really turned his career, even pushed his career even further to be the Hall of Fame player that he was.
And that shoulder, by the way, kept him from playing in Miami because if you remember, they shied away from getting him when Phillip Rivers was in San Diego. And Brees, despite having a terrific first start of his career there, Phillip Rivers goes there, Brees is going to go, and instead of going to Miami, he shows up in New Orleans, and the rest is, in fact, history. So, you know, the concept, though, of Tua being an elite quarterback, few people ascribe that to him because we haven't seen playoff wins.
For sure.
And we just sometimes see him not being able to answer the bell, and it's not because of protection problems like from you and your teammates.
Yeah.
It's with him taking unnecessary risks and not knowing when the play is over consistently enough where he's still talking about that, needing to get that timing down now, Terron.
Yeah, he has narratives in front of him that has to be answered, not necessarily by me or in interview form. It's from him and his play and getting the job done. It's any quarterback or any team that don't host that trophy at the end of the year, you have questions, you have narratives, you have challenges, you got adversity, you have things to answer. Only team right now that don't really have that is Philly. Everybody else got it. They have their questions going into the season. Tua has his questions, and it's up to him to answer these questions, not me. Do I believe he can? I do. Do I believe he will? I do.
Now, did you ever have a conversation with him about the timing in his head, or you never approached him on this front?
No, not really.
Did you know if the coach has? Have you? I assume Mike McDaniel has had this conversation.
I'm sure they have. I'm sure they have discussed it in detail at length, but I haven't.
Okay. Did you ever think of doing something like that? Because, I mean, listen, that your team was not the same without him. You know?
For sure. Yeah. The thing about Tua, he plays the game with such love for the game.
Right.
He's such a fierce competitor. He is willing to put his body on the line in any situation, but he has to understand, and I think that he's starting to understand, his value is deeper than any one play or any one game. Him being out of the lineup changes the franchise. It does. It changes the identity of the offense. It changes the franchise. So I believe that he has to play the game with that in mind, opposed to let me just do whatever I need to do to get this first down. That first down is not nearly as valuable as him being in there the next series.
I think you're referring to the last one where, one of the last big hits that he's taken.
Yeah.
You guys were down by 2 scores. He'd already thrown some interceptions. I think in his mind he was taking it on himself after that game.
So a few things. Number one, calling him special. And, first of all, I know he wants to say, hey, I stand on the fact that I originated the Drew Brees comp. And I've seen other people like in the media try to say, oh, I've been saying, guys, this was his draft comp coming out. Drew Brees was who everyone compared him to, with the accuracy, the timing, not having a cannon for an arm, the touch, the placement. Drew Brees was literally his draft comp. When people were talking about what's to his ceiling in the NFL, they basically said Drew Brees. That was, and before the hip injury, he had more velocity on his ball than Drew Brees. And even after the hip injury, I think he's a better athlete than Drew Brees. I do think his pocket awareness and his feel for the pocket is better than Drew Brees as well. Like the way he navigates the pocket, his footwork in the pocket. I think that's crisper than Drew Brees as well. I just think he's better in the pocket than Drew Brees in terms of moving around and navigating and feeling the pressure. So, but that was his. So I don't know why everyone's out here saying, hey, I came up with this. Oh, I came up with this. I mean, this was literally a draft comp. Go find any draft magazine or whatever you want, or go watch my stuff from 2020 and you'll hear everyone was talking about it. So that's not news, okay? I don't know why people are shocked that now people are coming out and they're actually saying, oh, he's living up to the comp a little bit. And remember, didn't it take Drew Brees like 5 or 6 years to win a playoff game? He's even on pace for that. Now, he did say something key too that I've been hammering into all of your guys' heads. He talked about more reps and snaps. What have I said about Tua and crunch time in big games? I've said the people that tell you he can't win in big games or win in crunch time, they're not being honest with you. They're leaving context out. Yes, he can do it. The real issue is he doesn't do it consistently enough. And what have I talked about? When you had guys like Patrick Mahomes in Texas Tech and Josh Allen at Wyoming, these guys were playing every rep. No matter the score, no matter the quarter, they were playing every rep. The problem with a guy like Tua and out of Alabama is how many second halves did he miss out on? How many games didn't even go to crunch time because there were blowouts by the third quarter. Again, it comes down to reps. You can even find Joe Burrow talking about this. That's why guys like Mahomes and Josh Allen are so calm, cool, and collected and unfazed from year one coming out in those moments, because they had to play in all those moments at the colleges they went to, because they weren't a top flight SEC team with top flight talent that could be a first stringer on any other team on their second string, and even some on their third string, that they had to get playing time. I've talked about this. So I think Terron nailed it dead on. Dead on. And, you know, again, I go back to, I just don't understand how people are just so shocked. I don't get it. You know, like, this was his comp. The Samoan sniper, right? This was his comp. So, and listen, I got to shut out. Listen, Terron Armstead, you guys need to keep him on the payroll. What a great ambassador. What a great ambassador for a team. He continues to be a leader, even though he's hung up the pads and helmet for the Dolphins. I love it. You got to make this man a coach. Seriously. You got to put him under Butch Barry and make him a coach and start the process. Especially if they win a playoff game, or McDaniel and Greer extend their shelf life after this year and they gain some cachet back. That's one of the first moves I would make, is putting Terron Armstead on the staff. And you know what? I don't even think he's just gassing up. I think he honestly believes everything he said. Again, I go back to this. Tua looked like last year like he was starting to turn a corner a little bit in those big moments and big games. Now, the Houston game, put a dent in that, but look at how good he was in Buffalo last year. Look at how good he was in Buffalo in 2022 when everyone told us he couldn't throw in the cold. So, and this is why I've said this year, I think we're going to start off 3-0. But the way and the path to 4-0, yes, it's a primetime game. Yes, it's in Buffalo. But if we get the Tua that showed up in Buffalo last year, if we get a repeat performance of that, and the defense and the special teams actually show up this year and don't put up some of the worst EPA per plays ever against Sean McDermott team, we can win that game. We can win that game. So, yeah, listen, I don't think Terron's being disingenuous. I don't even think Terron's lying, because Terron was 110% spot on about it just comes down to more reps with that crunch time stuff, which is what I've been saying. And he's got to stay healthy. He's got to know when to protect himself. And Terron said it. He's got to understand that that one play is insignificant compared to the next series. We need you for that next series. Got to know when to throw the ball away. Got to know when to give up on the play. So I agree with everything that Terron Armstead said. I think he was level-headed. I think he wasn't just speaking with his heart. I think he was speaking from his mind. So what a great leader. Let's get him on that coaching staff. Please, for the love of everything, get him on that coaching staff. All right. Guys, I put it in the chat. I put a poll. Let me know in the chat. All right. Let me know in the poll. And if you're watching this after the fact, I want you to let me know, will Tyreek Hill have a big bounce back season in 2025? I put a poll in the chat. 80% of you think that he's going to have a big bounce back year. So only 20% of you think that he's not going to. So, is this good? I want to know if you are watching after. Let me know in the chat after the fact, in the comment section. Do you think a big 2025 season, a big bounce back is on deck for Tyreek Hill with the Miami Dolphins. All right? Guys, I would need you to do me a favor. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. I'm going to get out of here. And I am going to catch each and every one of you on the next one. Until then, you already know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day. We'll catch y'all on the next one. Love y'all. I'll see y'all. And have a blessed rest of your day.